everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your premier source for Second Amendment news. And if you care about your rights, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now. It's free. That little red button right down there. It doesn't cost you anything, but it allows you to stay in the know with the constant attack that we face on our Second Amendment rights by our own government, who thinks that we get our rights from them. Today's story is an aggravating one. It's out of Massachusetts, and it should absolutely outrage every freedom-loving American there is. An Air Force veteran who legally owned firearms in another state is now rotting in a Massachusetts jail cell just for having those same guns while having the balls to visit the Bay State. You know, one of the 50 states of our country under the same U.S. Constitution. So he has the same rights as you or I, right? Apparently not. This is the kind of insanity we are up against. Let's break it down. An Air Force veteran named Kyle Coluda had returned to Massachusetts to live closer to his family. He and his girlfriend were living out of their vehicle, and having arrived in Massachusetts the day prior, they were making DoorDash deliveries in order to earn some money. Now, while having the gall to drive through Gardner, Massachusetts, a police officer observed their vehicle failing to yield at an intersection, allegedly. Now, the cop then ran their license plates and learned that the vehicle's registration had been revoked and the vehicle had no insurance. You know what? It's easier if I just read the police report to you so we can see everything that happened according to law enforcement. Here it is on the screen. On Tuesday, June 24, 2025, at approximately 9:20 a.m., I, Officer Antwi, while on uniform patrol in my assigned sector, observed a gray Nissan Rogue with Massachusetts registration 3MJA94 that failed to yield at the intersection of Timpani Boulevard and Donyon Avenue. After I followed closely, heading towards Main Street, I ran the vehicle's registration plates on my MDT, that's the mobile data terminal, in my cruiser, and observed that the vehicle had been revoked for insurance. Main Street is owned and maintained by the city of Gardner. I activated my emergency lights to initiate a motor vehicle stop. I radioed dispatch with the vehicle's registration information and then made contact with the operator. Upon making contact, I advised the operator of the reason for the stop and requested his driver's license and the vehicle registration. He identified himself as Kyle Coluda with an Arizona driver's license. However, he did not have a registration. A female passenger, later identified as Sarande Jackson, was seated in the passenger seat and was the registered owner of the vehicle. Sarande appeared to be in a state of shock and was shaking. She then confessed that she had paperwork issues and knew her vehicle was revoked for insurance. She also told me that they had just returned from Arizona the previous day and had no money on them, so they decided to do some DoorDash. From my initial observation inside the vehicle, there was a phone displaying a pending food order that was being responded to. I returned to my cruiser and then confirmed with dispatch regarding the revocation of the vehicle's insurance. I later advised Kyle and Sarande that I would not allow the vehicle to continue operating without insurance. I asked them to grab whatever they needed from the car and also to request another ride home because I was going to have the vehicle towed. While writing up a citation to Kyle in my cruiser, I observed him moving around inside the vehicle and seemed quite uneasy. I could see from my cruiser's windshield that he was sweating. I returned to the vehicle to complete the GPD inventory. That's the Gardner Police Department. I asked them to step out. I started with the back driver's door, which side had the least number of items from my view, and then instantly saw several medium-sized casings that appeared to be an ammunition case, greenish in color. I immediately asked Kyle what it was, and he responded that it was ammo for his guns. I then asked if he had any weapons, and he replied that he did, and he also had a Glock inside his right pocket. I demanded to see an LTC, that's a license to carry firearms in Massachusetts, and he responded he didn't have one. Remember, he just came into the state the day before. I immediately requested another officer and an officer in charge. Sergeant St. Pierre and Officer Saya arrived on the scene to assist. During our inventory search inside the vehicle, we discovered 3 handguns, 5 rifles, and a fully stocked military-style ammo case or carrier, see attachments. Kyle was placed in handcuffs under arrest. While I searched him, I located the fully loaded Glock 27 inside his right pocket. Sarande then told officers he only picked that because I had asked them to take whatever they needed inside the vehicle, and he put it in his right pocket, meaning the cop told them to get what they needed. I transported Kyle to the station, where he completed the booking process with Sergeant St. Pierre without any issues. Kyle Kaluta is being charged with possession of a large capacity firearm ×2 and possession of a firearm without a license ×4. Now that's page 1. I don't have page 2. It appears as having had to approve reports for years. It appears as though it's not finished yet. But regardless, this guy got jammed up. So he ended up behind bars. And he's been there for over a month. Why? Because he didn't have a Massachusetts license to carry firearms. And by the way, Massachusetts doesn't recognize any out-of-state gun permits. Why is that? I don't know, because maybe the Second Amendment, they don't think it lives in Massachusetts. And he's now being detained without bail under the Commonwealth's dangerousness statute. The law allows citizens to be held without bail for mere possession of a firearm without a license for up to 120 days. But being illegal in our country, breaking the law, and you can go free, scot-free immediately. But an American citizen, we're going to take your freedom as much as possible. Think about that. Really, think about it. A veteran, no threats, no violence, no record, just a law-abiding man with legal guns, legally owned firearms, now in a jail cell because he crossed a state line. And now Massachusetts has determined that he's dangerous, so he's rotting in a jail cell just because. The police seized his legally owned firearms and charged him with unlicensed possession of a firearm and possession of a large capacity. You have to say it that way because that's how stupid it is. A large capacity firearm under Massachusetts law. Every firearm is a large capacity firearm, just if it takes a detachable magazine, just so you're aware. Catch-alls in Massachusetts. And by the way, those offenses are not shall arrest violations. What does that mean? It means that this cop could have used what's called his discretion and told Kyle what he needed to do to meet the crazy, stupid, anti-American Massachusetts requirements since he had only arrived in the Commonwealth the day prior. Here's the kicker. He had no intent to break any law. He was just trying to make some money because they're living out of their car, which explains why he had all of his possessions inside the car. And the cop verified that they said what they were doing, what they said they were doing. Look, we're trying to do some DoorDash so we can raise some money and not live in our car. And he saw DoorDash open on their phone. So the dude's telling the truth. He's a veteran. But let's fuck him, right? The guns were legally owned. But in the eyes of Massachusetts, he became a criminal immediately upon crossing into the communist nation of Massachusetts, all because he brought constitutionally protected property across an imaginary dotted line on a map. This isn't new for Massachusetts. This state has some of the most draconian gun laws in the nation, where even responsible gun owners are treated like felons if they don't have state-issued permission slips. They don't honor any out-of-state permits. That's right, zero reciprocity. It's a trap, a legal minefield for anyone who dares to travel within that state with their rights intact. Now, this is a man who served his country, and now Massachusetts is treating him like a threat to society. The message this sends is, if you own guns and travel to a blue state, you better pray that you don't get sick or have to pull over for any reason. Now, this is yet another example of why we need national constitutional carry. I think we already have it. It's called the Constitution, the Second Amendment. And believe me, that's much better than reciprocity. And people are going to say, where's that H.R. 38? It's dead, because we'll never get 60 votes in the Senate as it's currently constituted. Neither will Massey's National Constitutional Carry Bill. They're dead because the Democrats will never vote for them. Now, the Second Amendment doesn't end at state lines, guys and gals. But until we get meaningful reform, or Americans have had enough, gun owners like Kyle will continue to get caught in this unconstitutional web of anti-gun state laws. Now, how many more American citizens need to be locked up before something changes? Now, my friend Jim Wallace over at Gun Owners Action League in Massachusetts has told me that Kyle's girlfriend reached out to them and they are on the case. They are talking with their attorneys regularly to see what they can do for him. And they're also looking at trying to amend Massachusetts' dangerousness statute so that simple possession of a firearm with a large capacity magazine isn't enough to stick someone in jail without bond for 4 months. Now, Wallace also said only prohibited persons or persons being arrested for violent underlying offenses should be considered potentially dangerous. The fact that a U.S. citizen can be detained without bail for exercising a civil right without government permission is unconscionable and unconstitutional. Kyle is an Air Force veteran with no criminal record that we are aware of, yet he was declared dangerous by the state. If he was pulled over a few miles north in New Hampshire, he would have only been charged with an unregistered vehicle. Kaluta is now facing up to 10 years in prison simply for possessing legally owned firearms in a large capacity magazine without the blessing of the Massachusetts Crown. Now, this is why I do what I do here on Guns and Gadgets, because if we don't talk about this, who will? A man like Kyle shouldn't be in a jail cell. And to all the anti-gun politicians out there who claim they support the troops, your actions say otherwise. Your actions speak louder than your words. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out to Blackout Coffee, the sponsor of today's video. They are unapologetically pro 2A. We're American owned. We have some of the best roasts in the country. And if you want to support your rights and stay caffeinated in the fight, head on over to blackoutcoffee.com/GNG and use code GNG10 to save on your order. I say support your rights because we donate money every single month to Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America, Firearms Policy Coalition, so they can sue the government. And we have subscription services for Roaster's Choice of the Month and Flavor of the Month, where you can get things that you'll never see in the store, like Shadow Ops or Black Forest Cake, or I just had this today, Bourbon Truffle. There's a ton of stuff that go through every month that are phenomenal, and they don't hit the regular store. So check out our subscriptions, blackoutcoffee.com/GNG. If this story pissed you off, and it should, hit that like button, share the video, and make sure you're subscribed with the bell icon turned on so that you don't miss any breaking Second Amendment news. Let's flood the comments here for support for Kyle and call out these insane laws that criminalize patriots. Stay safe, stay ready, and until we see justice for Kyle and others just like him, this fight is not over. Stay free, Americans. Stay free. This is our country, not theirs. I'll see you on the next one.